all this ash. Go on and get now.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am currently driving to sharp corner. I'm currently driving. I'm gonna roll this window up. Hold on. I'm currently driving to one of my favorite places in town, and I'm going to be answering questions about the Skyline. And just like I get a lot of questions. Honestly, a lot of them are the same. So I figured I'm just gonna make this video and just answer all the questions about the Skyline, the cars, kind of how I got into this, why I got into this, and just everything about it. So I'm heading there, I'm almost there, and then we're gonna get into this. Big straightaway downshift. Big straightaway. Go. Woo. All right, well, I am here at one of my favorite places, but there's a bunch of commotion in the trees, and I'm not looking to stick around and find out what the fuck is going on, because it is kind of out in literally the middle of nowhere. So, next location. Okay, location number 2. We are finally here. Ignore the fact that this car is incredibly filthy. I'm not going to tell you guys where this is at. If you know, you know. If you know, you're probably cool, or you jacked it from me and you ruined this spot. Either way, location number 2. Ignore the fact that I don't have a chair. I am sitting on the ground outside of my car, like probably a complete lunatic, but that's all right. So, how do I even begin this? I'm gonna go through my phone, answer some of the most common questions, I suppose. So, how did this all begin, I guess, is the main question everybody always asks. I think I was like 8 or something, out at my mom's friend's house. We called her Aunt Tammy. She was pretty low-key badass. I was hanging out at her house, and she was trying to like paint the house or something like that, and she was like, hey man, I need to keep you occupied, you trying to watch a movie? And I was like, yeah, bet, I'm definitely trying to watch a movie. So she popped in Too Fast, Too Furious. That was the first one that I ever watched. It was crazy, like watching that movie was insane. The cars were nuts. Like being into Hot Wheels and like previously just like tinkering with toys and shit, I was obviously already interested in cars, so then that movie kind of just sucked me into it. And then from there, it was just like playing all the video games and just dreaming about building cars and all this stuff. And then once I was able to drive, then I got into Subarus, which I went through that phase. I got into Evos. Evos are definitely way cooler in my opinion. And then I just kind of got out of Evos. I'd also owned a couple different Nissan 240 SXs. I had a S14 as my first one. The S14 was an SR car. It was a hunk of shit, to be quite honest with you guys. I bought it swapped, and it wasn't running when I picked it up. It was pretty much nothing but problems the entire time that I owned it. But it was cool, and it was a good learning experience, I think is really what that car was. I didn't pay a whole lot for it back in the day, and it was cool just to tinker with it and figure out kind of how to get it running right, got it running right, and then it was just like modifying it and just kind of seeing what Nissans are about, because I mean previously I had owned Subarus and Evos. So the S14 was really interesting really not that great, but it was really fun. It was a fun car. And then before I purchased this sedan, I had a 1JZ S13. That car was a lot of fun. 1J made a lot of power. It's kind of the car that really got me into drifting, because I was drifting my S14 a couple years before I had purchased my S13, but it was an SR car, the S14 wasn't. It was just kind of gutless and like, it had a lot of problems. So I'm not saying that SR cars aren't fast and you can't drift them. I mean, you don't really need a whole lot of power to get into drifting, but this car had issues that were kind of keeping me back from drifting. It would do burnouts and donuts and the simple things like that, but it really wasn't a car that you could count on actually holding you through the corner and whatnot. The S13 was the one that really got me into drifting, got me into driving more. And that car was a lot of fun. It was a lot of power. It was the perfect car that you could really ask for, minus, I mean, AC and a couple amenities, but it was the perfect car to slide. It was a perfect car to have fun in. I crashed it a couple times, dropped it off the road, whatever. But it held up and it was really good. But at the end of the day, it just still wasn't the right car. It was a fun car and it was a great car, but it still wasn't the right car. It was time to finally get a Skyline after years and years of dreaming of it and talking about it. So I was like, do I keep this car and it's like fun, or do I sell it and buy the car that I've been wanting and buy the car that is a dream car to purchase? So that is then in return how I got into purchasing this, is I sold my S13 and started the journey. I mean, it took me a year after selling the S13 to finally purchase one of these, so it was a while. And then, I mean, now I'm very blessed and I've gotten to this opportunity where I purchased two of these cars. I have the sedan, and then I just sold a coupe. I had a 93 GTST coupe. That was a lot of fun. It was just a good project. It was another one of those cars where it needed a little bit of work. It wasn't running right when I picked it up. It was a good deal and it made sense. And now it's off to a better home. And the guy is, I think he's got a good vision for it. I think he's gonna do a lot of cool things with it. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, this is how this all happened. I'd always had this weird obsession with Skylines. I think it was just pretty much because watching Too Fast, Too Furious and seeing Paul Walker's R32, that silver car, and yeah, I just had always been obsessed with Skylines, and so I was like, one day I'm going to own one day I'm going to purchase a Nissan Skyline. And fast forward a few years and they became legal in the United States, so I was like, all right, how am I going to do this? What is the route? How do I even go about getting one? I had done the research, I had tried to figure it out, and it was hard. It was hard finding answers. It was hard just figuring out how actually to go about getting one, because back when they were first legal, like, not too many people really knew how to go about it, especially like normal people. I mean, there was obviously dealers that knew how to import cars, and the cars that they were importing were a bit of a pricey tag on them and whatnot, but I mean, I had just kept doing the research and kept trying to figure out what car I wanted to buy and how to get it in. And then fast forward a few more years, I mean, I go through 6 more cars, and I was like, all right, I think I'm finally at the point where I need to get one of these cars. It's a bucket list car. I've been dreaming about it for a large portion of my life, and I was like, I just need to get one of these. So I had started doing all the research. I decided on the sedan because, like I had said previously, driving and owning Subarus and then getting into the Evo, I just have this kind of odd obsession with sedans, and so I was like, I definitely have to get the sedan. And so then I was like, okay, they make them in the GTS and the GTST. Obviously, I'm not going to go with the naturally aspirated one because that's a little boring. GTST it was. So then it was just a matter of finding the right car. I had done a few years of looking and research and whatnot, because I was definitely going to import my own. I wanted to do it myself. And yeah, I looked at a couple cars, looked at a couple different sedans, and it just didn't make sense. The sedans that I looked at one naturally aspirated one, but it was a good deal, but it had the typical Skyline problems. And then I found a couple GTSTs, but with higher miles, not as nice. And then I finally found this car, and I figured this car was the one to pull the trigger on. Loaded up, got in the truck, grabbed my buddy Brandon, mobbed out to Canada, and I purchased the car, did all the import paperwork and paid all the fees and did all that stuff all on my own, which was stressful and difficult, but now that I kind of know how to do it, it's been pretty easy. And that was that. Like, that was kind of the initial start to getting me into importing cars and getting me into this situation. And this has definitely been one of the coolest cars that I've purchased, and probably my favorite car that I've ever bought. Granted, it's not that fast. My old 240 was definitely a lot faster, but I mean, this is a lot of fun, and this is why I chose this car. This car, 40,000 miles. It's got AC. All the power options work. The power folding mirrors work. It was a little rough. It wasn't running right when I picked it up, but now, thanks to my boys over at Ranch Built, thank you guys. They do a lot for me. They always have for many years. They've got this car dialed now. I mean, it's not 100%. Then 100% would be standalone and tuning it, but for a factory ECU car, it runs really good, makes great power, it's a lot of fun, and it's like the perfect daily driver. It's like a perfect weekend warrior. Like, I can drive it to work if I want to, I can go slide it if I want to. I mean, it does literally everything that you could really want out of a rear-wheel drive turbo sedan.
I know all you bitches want is